Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is No B.S. Sports. Mike, Damon, and Shay. Now I'm Chewy, your host, and we're back bringing you some draft talk. As we film this podcast, the second and third round has been completed, and the fourth, fifth, and sixth, seventh round is all underway as we're going right now. And before the podcast, we were talking about a little over-under for Jonathan Taylor, 25 catches. I'm hammering the over. Mike is hammering the under. We'll put a little bet on it, and we'll see who wins that bet come next season or after this season.
Yeah, they have Naheem Hines, so I don't think he's going to be catching any passes. Their offense line's dominant. He's going to get a bunch of carries, but that's it.
Mike loves to hate Jonathan Taylor on not catching the ball, and he used to say Dobbins was better, but Taylor had more catches this year, so we're not going to talk about that, though. But today we're going to talk about some winners and losers so far in the draft, just through the first three rounds. We're not going to keep up live. These could change, but I don't think there's going to be much change, especially with some of the losers heading forward. I think the winners can only get better. But we're going to get started with Chayton on we'll start with winners to start off. Let's start the podcast off good. We'll start with winners.
With winners, you have to think the Lions for the first time in it feels like 150 years. They are actually doing well in a draft. They basically had the first pick of the draft because the first two picks were decided probably 6 months ago or so. But I think that Jeff Okudah was the right pick. Some argued Isaiah Simmons could have been the pick, but I think you couldn't have gone wrong either way. I was a little surprised to see DeAndre Swift. I'm more of a Jonathan Taylor fan, but DeAndre Swift's a great fit for that scheme. And even the offensive lineman they got at Ohio State, it was pretty highly ranked. He wasn't the best offensive line by any means, but a good, solid third-round pick. I mean, they really did a lot, and they made good trades. They traded when they need to and backed out when they needed to. I think this was probably the smartest draft from Patricia and Quinn since they've taken over, and I hope it translates into wins.
Yeah, I think we all agree. I think we can all agree that the Lions had a very good draft so far. They hit on all their picks. They haven't missed. They haven't reached. Like last year, they reached a little bit on some picks. But this year, it seems like they hammered all of them.
I agree. And I'm not a Lions fan, and I agree.
Mike, you want to tell us a winner so far?
Yeah. So, I've discussed this with these guys off camera before the draft. Actually, we were talking about Tua versus Herbert, and I'm not a big Tua fan. I don't like his injury. Not that he won't recover, because I've seen reports that doctors said he's in pristine condition after the surgery, and left mirrors the right hip. But it's something that easily can come back up. And I'm just not a fan of his play personally. I like Justin Herbert a lot better. I think as a quarterback, he's 6'5". I think he's like 230 or 240. He's like a real size quarterback. And I just like the intangibles he has. He doesn't throw picks. He's got a big arm. And I just really like him as a quarterback. So I think the Chargers really hit with their quarterback. I think that was the perfect play. He's got a bunch of weapons. He's got Austin Eckler. He has Hunter Henry. He's got Keenan Allen. I just think they're going to be a dynamic offense. And then also, let me see. They also got Kenneth Murray in the first round, and he is a beast. I think that defense is just going to get better as time goes on, especially with their two staples in their pass rush, which just helps everybody. And I just think they're a winner. They got a staple on offense and a staple on defense just in the first round.
Yeah, I liked Murray. There have been a lot of reports leading up to the draft of like his intangibles and like his leadership and how he conducts himself, in the huddle and in the film room that teams were raving about, and like he was jumping up the board. And I think the Chargers traded up to get Murray. And I thought that was huge for them because I think they need, they got good pass rushers, but I think he really helped solidify their front seven. Damon, you got somebody that's jumped out so far?
Yeah, I have somebody that it seems kind of quiet, but I think they're making some big moves looking at the future. I'm gonna talk about the Denver Broncos. Now they got Drew Lock at the regime, and you need some weapons. Losing Emmanuel Sanders last year was huge, so I think replacing Jerry Jeudy, I think that's gonna be the guy right there. Him and Sutton. And they also added one more receiver as well, I believe.
Hamler.
Yeah, KJ Hamler. A little undersized, only 5'9", but they could always use a slot guy. He had a great season at Penn State, I think. And then third round, they had 2 picks, and they took because he's gonna need some protection, so they grabbed center, and they got a corner from Iowa. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
OJ I'm just sleeping, but yeah, because losing Chris Harris is huge. That's a big hole to fill. So I could see them taking maybe 1 or 2 more corners by the end of this draft. But I think overall they made some good moves for the future.
Yeah, the Broncos. Yeah, they were one of my favorite teams coming out so far through the first 3 rounds. Especially with last year, they got Drew Lock. I think they got a quarterback there. Now you give them some help. You already got Sutton and Jeudy. I throw Jeudy on the outside with Hamler in the slot. That's Emmanuel Sanders in the slot. I think that's perfect for the Broncos. And with Noah Fant, too, they drafted. Yeah. The Broncos, I think, are going to make some – they'll be flashy. I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but they're going to be a really flashy team this year.
They're a team to watch over the next couple of years, especially seeing how Drew Lock begins to develop.
And they get Bradley Chubb back next year after that ACL tear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They still got
him and Von Miller.
Yep. And they still got Derek Wolfe.
I was going to say they got Derek Wolfe, so.
But one of my teams, I'm just going to go with the Dolphins. You can't go wrong with them, I don't think. Even if you're not a big Tua fan, maybe if he doesn't sit the whole year, he's going to sit probably 6-7 games. Fitzpatrick's going to start the season, I think. They drafted Austin Jackson. They lost Laremy Tunsil. You get Jackson in there, get Tua some protection, when he decides, when they decide to start him. They drafted a corner at 30. They had drafted Swift, and then they traded back with the Green Bay Packers, which we'll talk about later. But the Dolphins, they also drafted offensive guard. They drafted Raekwon Davis from Bama, Brandon Jones from Texas. He's a safety. They already got Byron Jones in the offseason, Kyle Van Noy. I mean, I really like what the Dolphins are doing. Yeah. They're really rebuilding there. I think, with the AFC East open this year, no Tom Brady, no Rob Gronkowski, the Patriots aren't the top dog anymore, The Dolphins, I don't think they're going to win the division this year, but I think they can make some noise. And they still have 9 picks left in this draft. We talked about this on an earlier podcast. Jay didn't think that they were going to keep all of them. I don't think any of us thought they were going to keep all of them, but they had 14 picks coming in, and they already made 5 selections. They got 9 left. So I think the Dolphins, they might be sticking to their guns and keep trying to rebuild that team because they still have a lot of holes to fill, but I like what they're doing so far.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not too a fan, but I like how they're building around him and giving him help with the offensive line because their offensive line was putrid last year, especially after they lost Tunsil. They were horrible.
Yeah, and drafted 2 linemen right off the bat, I think was try to help solidify one side of the line. One team I like to bring up that I want us to look at is the Minnesota Vikings. They already made 4 selections. They have 13 remaining. I don't think they hold all of them just because that's a lot of picks to have on the back end of the draft. I think other teams like maybe the Saints who don't have a pick today, a scheduled pick, I think they might make a move to get a pick or 2. Minnesota is definitely a team you want to trade with because they have 13. But that's something to look at, and I think Minnesota is also having a very good draft. Drafting Jefferson when the Eagles passed on him.
I like Jefferson. That was a good pick.
Does anyone have any last shout-outs, thus far? Any other ones that they love that might have been missed?
I just wanted to shout out the Giants. I feel like the Giants have had a pretty decent draft so far. Because this is definitely the draft they needed to, start kind of turning the team around and getting, Andrew Thomas, some pretty other decent names. I think they're in the right direction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good.
I just want to say, I agree with that. I mean, they always say, like, when you rebuild, you get your playmakers and you want to protect them. They draft Saquon, you get Daniel Jones. Now you get that left tackle. I mean, they're just building that offense.
Yeah, I just want to bring up something real quick. So I'm just going to make this super quick. Two teams I really liked, the Ravens. They got Queen from LSU. He's a beast. And that was a beautiful pick for their scheme that they run. They're saying he's going to be the next Ray Lewis for them. Not as good, but like that role he's going to fill. And then they drafted Malik Harrison from Ohio State super late in the draft. He's super good as well.
Very athletic.
Yes, exactly. And then they got J.K. Dobbins super late, which was a good pick. And then lastly, the Cowboys being gifted CeeDee Lamb was beautiful. Their wide receiver core is outstanding.
Unreal.
Yep.
And they got Trevon Diggs too to fill Byron Jones. I mean, Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Exactly. Skip.
Skip. And we got Damon repping his Ezekiel Elliott jersey if you're listening, not watching. But, Cowboys had a very gifted CeeDee Lamb. I can't believe that, that he fell to them.
Look out for the NFC East. They got some problems to deal with.
Yeah, they really do. Team I want to throw out real quick is the Cleveland Browns. They drafted Willis. They need to protect Baker. The offensive line was a problem. They filled that. They drafted Delpit, who slipped to the second round. Was a projected first rounder before the college season started, and he kind of slipped. He was a little banged up in the season. Didn't have the greatest season, but he played through some nagging injuries, which I think hurt his draft stock. But, he got a championship. Still a second-round pick. I think that's a good fit for Cleveland. They need a little work on the back end. I mean, they got solid corner, Denzel Ward, but I think they need a little safety help, and I think Delpit fills that position. Let's transition to some of our losers so far. Chaden, you want to, start us off with a loser?
Yeah, I'll start off with the most obvious one, I think, and it's the Green Bay Packers, staying in the NFC East, or NFC North, I'm sorry, with my Lions pick. Trading up to draft Jordan Love in the first round was the absolute stupidest thing he could have done. I don't know. I don't remember who exactly was left, but if you want to trade up and get a running back or even a receiver, I could see it. They need I could see it. They need some weapons. They need some help on the offensive end, even a defensive player, somebody that would make a day one impact for the Packers. You trade up for, but you trade up for a player that's not even going to play for 3-4 years. Whenever Aaron Rodgers decides to hang
4 years for his contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not gonna play. Even if even at least 4 years, you're not gonna play. That was just dumb. And then you take, okay, cool, maybe they're gonna get better in the second round. You draft a running back. You miss on a receiver the first time. You would think they would get even whoever's left at receiver, but they grab a running back who's not even really he's not a top prospect. He's not bad, but he's not someone that's gonna be a day one impact player for you. And then they draft a tight end, whatever. It's almost too little too late to draft an offensive weapon at that point. You're kind of just reaching. And, they have a few picks left in the back end. I imagine they hold on to some of them, but they're not. The NFC North is going to be competitive with the Vikings and even the Lions making some good moves. And then you go out there and do that. I don't know. I just my big loser of the draft so far.
Yeah, I think we all thought this was a bad draft so far for the Packers. We can all agree. It just doesn't make sense. You're one game away from going to a Super Bowl. Outside of Devontae Adams, you're pretty limited at the receiver position. The departure of Jimmy Graham, cool, you get a tight end third round, but you get Dillon, your two best players are your Aarons. You know, Rodgers and Aaron Jones last year. And what do? You get backups. And A.J. Dillon won't even be a backup because Jamal Williams is there too with Aaron Jones. So it just does not make sense when you're one game away, really one team, because they got smacked by the Niners in the regular season and then lost to them again in the NFC Championship. If somehow the Niners lose, Green Bay might go to the Super Bowl if they don't have to face San Fran. But, I mean, we all thought – I mean, San Fran was pretty much locked up, I think. They were just so dominant this year. But it just didn't make sense. Because you could have got a project with Jacob Eason, who's still available right now, in like a fourth round. I mean, the Patriots, even when Bill Belichick wanted to get rid of Tom Brady, he wasn't drafting a quarterback in the first round. He was drafting Jimmy Garoppolo in the third round or Jacoby Brissett in the third round, having projects to work with, guys who've panned out. And you're going to waste a pick that this guy, like you said, might not play for 4 years.
Your contract's up by then.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, that's what I mean. His contract's up.
No, right, Love.
Oh, yeah, his contract will be up too. It just doesn't make sense. Unless you're going to move Aaron Rodgers for, I don't know why you would, really, when he's the face of your franchise. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Maybe they're hoping the Patriots would want to deal without Tom Brady, but I mean, there's still a couple good prospects on the free agent market with Cam Newton. I think he's still out there, and
Jameis.
And Jameis. I mean, I don't get the logic there. None of it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and see, they wouldn't even want to deal with New England because New England was at the 23 and they traded back. So if they wanted Love, they could have drafted him at 23. Packers trade up to 26. If the Patriots really wanted Love, which is probably the only team that desperately needed one that wasn't in the top 5 quarterback, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for the Packers. So, I don't know. Mike, you want to get going on a loser because I don't want to go. I don't want to go in too deep on the Packers.
Oh my goodness! All right, so I'm just gonna focus on the first round because it was a debacle. Oh my! I'm gonna do the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, coming into a new city, and big things happening. And their team, they were pretty decent last year. Like they weren't good, they weren't bad. They had their games.
They're in the playoff hunt.
I was about to say they had their games. And you have the 12th pick, projected first wide receiver off the board. On most mock drafts, they were drafting the first receiver, and they draft the third best receiver. That is outrageous. I mean, for fantasy wise, I think we're all happy that Ruggs went there because there's a chance that he could do something just because he's a quick guy. He's a pretty decent route runner. But all of us would have liked to see CeeDee Lamb there, or even Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, even Jeudy.
Someone that fits their scheme because Terrell Williams is an older version of Henry Ruggs. Super quick, can stretch the field, and then they go out and get the same person. They need someone who can go over the middle and catch the ball, which would be Jerry Jeudy, excellent route runner. Same with CeeDee Lamb, both great route runners, can run the whole route tree. Compared to Henry Ruggs, which I don't think personally can run the whole route tree. And then their second pick in the first round, Damon Arnett. I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't like the pick, especially not in the first round. He was a second-round pick, like mid-second-round pick. He's a good player. He can tackle really well. He's fast. But the problem is if he starts to get beat, he'll yank you. He'll get the flag, which, I mean, I guess that could be a good or a bad thing. But they're not looking for the overthrow, so it's kind of most times if he gets beat. I don't like that pick in the first round. I think he's a good player, but not a first-round talent.
I'm going to stick with the Raiders just for a second. Outside the first round, I agree with everything you said. They draft Lynn Bowden, a Kentucky athlete, I'll call him, because he played some receiver. He played quarterback half the season last year for Kentucky. It just didn't make sense with some of the receivers that's still on the board. Like, I mean, obviously Michigan fan, but Donovan Peoples-Jones is out there. I think Colin Johnson from Texas. I think
James Perosh is still there.
It just
Southern Methodist.
A.J. Hill, if they want to wait on one. I mean, there's options to wait.
And then they draft Brian Edwards. He's okay. He's not going to – I don't think he's going to be anything special. He's going to be a full receiver. but it just, I don't know. The Raiders, it didn't really make sense. I mean, they hit last year on the draft picks, which were outlandish. I mean, some people would say with Farrell. I thought Farrell was good. Some other people did not think that was a good pick. I mean, but they hit on the draft picks. I think it's too early to hit on them. Bad, but I mean, they're definitely losers. But, you know, they had a good draft last year. Maybe these guys turn out like last year's. So. Damon, you got a loser?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about the Raiders too, but we kind of covered all that. But I think another team I'm kind of on the fence about is Jacksonville. I liked their first pick. I did like C.J. Henderson a lot, but who do they get? K'Lavon Chasen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who else? They got Laviska Shenault. Okay, so never mind. They didn't do too bad.
You see, I mean, with the Jags, I just think they need O-line help, and I just don't know why they didn't go O-line.
Yeah, at least early, because this was a very heavy offensive line draft. So
and they definitely need O-line help. I don't know why they haven't gone offensive line.
Yeah. Did we talk about the Eagles? No.
No, we did not talk about the Eagles. You can go right into them if you'd like.
Yeah, go
ahead.
Philly.
Philly, man. Where do we start?
They only had 3 picks, and I feel they missed on all 3 of them.
Every single one. Literally every single one. I was going to say, Chayton, you can help me out with this one a little bit. But Jalen Reagor.
He's good. But
good.
Not better.
But not better than JJ, Justin Jefferson.
He's not first-round talent. I think he's second round.
Second, third round. Even Brandon Ayuk has still been good if they would have took him.
Yeah,
I like him too. Brandon Ayuk's gonna be good. I think he's a low key talent
he's a star.
Exactly. So I'm just like Jalen Reagor. Now he's not even the best on the board. Like I don't know. That kind of blew me. In second round they take
Jalen
Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. You just you don't want to prey on somebody getting hurt, but you kind of Carson Wentz's paper glass. So the chance of it happening is pretty. I don't know. I also don't know how I feel about the fit for that necessarily. I know Carson Wentz can move like a little bit, but I don't really think that offense is built for a mobile quarterback. Even though, not saying Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball because he was definitely throwing it a lot in Oklahoma, but I don't know if that would have been the best fit. We were kind of talking about this before we went on, but I think if Kyler Murray wasn't on the Cardinals, I think that would have been a better fit for him offensively. And then lastly, who did they take? They took another running back, didn't they?
No, they took a linebacker. Taylor. Yeah, he's kind of it was kind of a reach, I think. Or I don't know.
Out of Colorado. He was average. I don't think he was what did he go? Third round?
Yeah, it was
early third round too. Right?
Very average pick.
And
not good. Not bad, but just Yeah, talking to a diehard Eagles fan from Philly, maybe bring him on. Maybe a soon-to-be friend of the show, Brendan McFall, was not happy with any of the picks. And I think all Philly faithful, if you look on Twitter, was not a fan of that first-round pick. For some fans, he could be good. But you pass on Justin Jefferson, who might be the best all-around receiver, I want to say, in this draft class. It's between him and CD, I think.
I think it's between him and Judy, but
I think personally Jefferson's the best. Was one. Well, I think either one or two of the best receiver. I think he should have been drafted higher, to be honest.
Justin Jefferson is just so polished as a receiver, in all his routes, and he can fly, man, and he's got good hitting. He's 6'2". He can play the slot. He can play outside. He did that all LSU last year. I mean, that helped contribute to Joe Burrow's 60 touchdowns. I don't know. That's a big player to pass on who just went the pick after, especially when the Cowboys draft CeeDee Lamb. and you draft Jalen Rager, you could have had Justin Jefferson.
I mean, anybody. You could have literally had anybody at that point.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm good.
Well, I was about to say, and in the start of the season, you got to think about it like this. In the start of the season, CeeDee Lamb's probably going to be their third wide receiver to start the season. And so they have all that player. But you get what I'm saying. Like, start the season, because they got Michael Gallup still, which is he's no scrub. I'm not saying he's better. But, you know, everyone's getting this firepower. Even the Redskins with Chase Young. I know you guys aren't super big fans of Chase Young, but he's going to cause problems for teams, and especially like the Eagles, who let Jason Peters walked, right?
Yeah, I think
so. They're not adding a tackle, which, I mean, even if you take Chase Young out of the picture, the Redskins have a good pass rush. They have 5. They're like the San Francisco.
Jonathan Allen,
5 first-round picks on that that defensive line. So
you got Montez Sweat too.
Yeah,
exactly. And Kerrigan, and then you have
Jonathan Allen.
Yeah. So they really
dropped the ball.
And they lost tackle to the Lions.
Guard.
Guard.
I
don't know, guard or tackle, but
big
they still.
I think that's what they call him.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising, at least in the second and third round, that they didn't try to go offensive line, even if you do go receiver that first pick,
which they needed bad.
Yeah, but to not even touch the O line, I don't know. That's a little questionable for me too, that they haven't touched O line. My loser is, I think, a big loser of the offseason in general is the Houston Texans. They draft Ross Blacklock. I mean, he's all right. And then they draft John Greenard, who's he's not very athletic. And when I was reading up on him, the scouting report, they just didn't think highly of him. They have 5 picks left. 3 of them are in the 7th round. This is all the backlash of the Laramie Tunsil. I don't know, man. They're just – the Texans, I think good old Bill O'Brien's got to be out of here after the season. The draft just hasn't been good. You trade away picks to get Brandon Cooks. You don't get nothing for D-Hop. You trade away a bunch of picks. I mean, Laramie Tunsil is definitely a position they need to fill because Deshaun Watson got hit a lot and you lose draft pick, which is understandable. You make him the highest paid left tackle in the league. I just think the Texans are having a very poor draft. They're not going to do much with their 3 of their 5 picks are in the 7th round. They're not going to get any playmakers, really impact players day one. Maybe some development players for, a few years down the line. Maybe they turn into something, but immediate impact players, you're not going to get that in the 7th round. It just doesn't happen like that in the NFL. The Texans, I think they're just losers in the offseason, including the draft.
They're losers in general, but yeah.
Yeah. Especially, a team that's won the playoff game with J.J. Watt a few years ago. Because I was listening to a podcast with J.J. Watt, and, they haven't been able to take that step in years. They won that first one. The next step is winning the Super Bowl, and, they've been pretty average at walking out the wild card round. So, I don't think they make any impacts that really help their team. Anyone have any last-minute losers to bring up thus far?
No, I think I'm good.
Shout out Cincinnati. That's what I really have to say.
Yeah. Shout out Cincinnati. They've made some great picks. I mean, obviously Joe Burrows, but T. Higgins, huge pick.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Bill Belichick finishes out the draft. I think he's got something special up his sleeve. So
I think I'd rather see his dog drive.
His dog drive made some nice picks yesterday.
Absolutely.
He made some nice picks. Yeah. I mean, I guess the team, we always have to count on is the Patriots drafting well. They always do. I think they got 6 picks remaining.
Yes.
Yeah, they got 6 picks remaining. They drafted a low-key safety, development player. Not going to play a lot this year. He's going to be a lot of learning behind Chung and McCourty. But and then you get Uche and Jennings. Uche is a talented pass rusher. He's not very good at stopping the run, but he can rush the passer. He'll probably be a third down player. But then you get Jennings, who's that
Jennings.
outside linebacker, that Dante Hightower. Dante's getting up there. He's like 30, I think 31. You bring
30.
Jennings in, younger player, and then they go back-to-back tight ends, which is a position they desperately needed.
And 2 good tight ends too.
Yeah, Asi from UCLA. He's a very good pass catcher, not a very good blocker. But that's why they drafted Keene. They said he's not a great one, but he puts a lot of effort into blocking, so that's huge. They got 6 picks. Bill Belichick is always good at drafting guys and develop them into the Patriots scheme. So you can't sleep on the Patriots. They'll probably be sitting around a wild card spot this year just because it's Bill Belichick, and that defense is still going to be solid. I think they definitely should draft a receiver in the 4th round here as it's underway. But, the Patriots are a team to look at. But I think Minnesota is the biggest team to look at today, 13 picks.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to No B.S. Sports Podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us some comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Thank you for listening to us today.